what I want to discuss more here is how you should be spending 5.5 to 6 months with anthropology course with LevelUp IAS. Okay, what's expected out of you? And this is something you can say the 7 golden rules or 8 golden rules that you need to follow in order to become an IAS officer. Okay, so the first one, ये आप आठों लिखना और आप इसको रोज देखना. Okay, the first one is you're not here to become an anthropologist. Okay, anthropology पढ़ना है, but anthropologist नहीं बनना है. Remember, there is a purpose. Life will give you many chances to become an anthropologist if you like this subject so much. तो आप IAS बनने के बाद कर लेना. Okay, see, what I want to emphasize is depth in optional knowledge is very much important, but there is limitation to it. Don't go too deep that you sink there. So I'll give you a story that there is a diver and he finds a lot of gold bars at the bottom or at the sea surface. बहुत सारे सोने के बिस्किट्स मिल गए. But there is a limitation that number of biscuits that he can carry with him in order to, so that he can easily reach at the top of the sea. क्योंकि बिस्किट बाहर आएंगे तभी तो उसके किसी काम के, isn't it? If he starts to accumulate every biscuit or every gold bar, he will not be able to come up, they will sink him down. So in the same way, there is infinite knowledge, infinite. Every now and then there is some kind of new journal that will come that will talk about the topics that you are actually supposed to read. But there is a limitation. You should not be going too much deep that you sink. But have a limitation. इतना ही पढ़ेंगे जितना एग्जाम के लिए जरूरत है. Understand the requirement of the exam. Read accordingly. Don't get tempted कि ये भी पढ़ लूँ, ये भी कर लूँ. नहीं होगा. And ये भी करने के चक्कर में we might not do anything. So remember, you're not here to become an anthropologist. You're reading anthropology only to qualify the exam. Second and most important aspect, all the topics are not equally entertaining, but are equally important. Okay, many of us might have got motivation to become an IAS officer or to join some classes seeing some reels on YouTube. And you see that some teacher is cracking some jokes and आपको लगा कि पूरी क्लास ऐसी चलेगी, jokes, मस्ती मजाक, और उसमें ही कोर्स खत्म हो जाएगा. ओके, जोक्स के लिए एक्स्ट्रा सब्सक्रिप्शन लेना पड़ता है, उसके लिए ज़्यादा पैसे देने पड़ते हैं, क्योंकि एक क्लास में जिसमें जोक होगा फिर उसके बाद आपको दूसरी क्लास ज्वाइन करनी पड़ेगी पढ़ाई के लिए. आर यू गेटिंग माई पॉइंट? So all the topics might not be equally entertaining. I might not be cracking a lot of jokes. I might be focusing only on my topic, that I'm not here to entertain you, but I'm here to share my knowledge of anthropology. I'm myself as a student, but I'll share whatever I have learned in a small duration of time with respect to anthropology. But entertaining नहीं है तो then I come across a lot of students, sir ये topic बोर लग रहा है, छोड़ दे एग्जाम के लिए. भाई छोड़ दे, बट अगले साल पढ़ना पड़ेगा फिर. Okay, because remember, with whom are you competing? See, let me tell you a reality check. This year 1000 students qualified approximately. Out of them around 200-250 will become IAS and IFS, Administrative Service and Foreign Service. Only they cannot give the exam again. Rest 750 they will go for rank improvement. because nobody is going to settle with IPS, IRS, Audit Account Service or AFHQ in that case. तो आप ये समझ लो कि अगले साल की 750 सीट्स तो ऑलमोस्ट फाइनल है. You're competing for only 250 to 300 seats. Now there is another twist to it. 3,000 students appeared for interview, only 1,000 qualified. 2,000 will be giving the attempt again. आप ये समझ लो कि आप किससे compete कर रहे हो. And 13,000 students appeared for mains, only 3,000 qualified. 10,000 will be given prelims again. So you are competing with these people who have written either mains or who have appeared for interview or who are already in the service. Okay, and you will be giving your first attempt this year only. Now in order to be, I'm not saying कि आप एक साल में नहीं कर सकते हो. But the thing is कि since you have limited time, you cannot beat them with hard work. आप उनसे ज़्यादा content नहीं पढ़ सकते. आप उनसे ज़्यादा effectively पढ़ सकते हो. You don't do the same mistakes that I did. You don't do the same mistakes that a topper who got a lesser rank did. You can learn from their mistakes, avoid it, and then appear with a greater clarity. And that's why you need to understand पहली चीज कि आप कुछ छोड़ के नहीं जा सकते. Anything cannot be left. You have to have general idea about almost every topic so that you don't get blank at any topic or any question whatsoever comes in the exam. इसके लिए एक बहुत अच्छा analogy है that Ayurveda talks about shadras in food, that a food should have 6 different types of ras in order to make it more comprehensive or in order to ensure that it satisfies the needs of the body. So this, आपको जरूरी नहीं कि मीठा पसंद है सिर्फ मीठा ही खाओगे, आप सिर्फ मीठा खा के देखो. What will happen? Eventually the body gives up. In the same way, the topics that are seeming entertaining to you, you just cannot eat that. You cannot just consume that. You have to look on those topics as well that might seem boring but might become more scoring in the exam. Okay, so shadras as if sweet, salty, sour, bitter, pungent and astringent. So these 6 ras that makes the food complete. In the same way, whether the topic is entertaining, the topic is boring, it's a part of your syllabus. We have to read it. We have to have the knowledge about it. तो ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि that आज सर ये टॉपिक बड़ी बोरिंग लग रही है, क्लास छोड़ के जा रहे हैं. क्लास छोड़ के जाके भाई तू कौन सी पढ़ाई कर रहा है? तो एटलीस्ट पैसे दिए हैं, it's a hard earned money of your parents. Try to extract as much possible from this class. घर जाके भी आप कुछ पढ़ाई नहीं करोगे, आप बहुत ज़्यादा टाइम यूटिलाइज नहीं करोगे. बोरिंग है, एटलीस्ट वो टॉपिक तो खत्म हो रहा है. You don't have to do it by yourself. Okay, and I'll write the notes by myself. या दोस्त से बोल दिया कि नोट्स दे देना, उससे कुछ नहीं होगा. You will have to read it. टाइम तो उतना ही लगेगा, तो क्लास में ही कर लो यार जब आ गए हो तो. Are you getting this point? So I'm telling you this because this is a general trend I have been observing from last 7-8 years since the time I am teaching, that by the end of this course the strength of this class becomes 1/3, both online and offline, and 2/3 of the children who basically don't attend the class, they say that I'm not finding the class to be interesting or entertaining. लेकिन you're not here to watch a Netflix movie. और अगर entertaining होता तो आप बचपन से ही कर लेते, तो आपको क्लासेस की जरूरत ही नहीं थी. Are you getting this point? So you're here to learn. You're not here for fun. You're not here for jokes. Remember the purpose. Okay. The third is you're here to become DC, not CC. That is, you're here to become district collector, not content collector. Okay. Most of us end up as content collector. 4 दोस्त से मिले, भाई तूने ये पढ़ा, भाई तूने ये पढ़ा, इससे पूरे क्वेश्चन आए थे, उससे पूरे क्वेश्चन आए थे, मैंने पूरा सोर्स ही चेंज कर दिया. I completely shifted from one source to another. No, you don't do that. If you're finding that there is something that is lacking in your content, just add that particular aspect in your content. Don't shift it. किसी ने बोल दिया ये बुक ले ले, ये बुक ले ले. What we do is the enthusiasm is so high that we hear the book, we buy it immediately अभी क्लास खत्म नहीं हुई है और Amazon पे स्क्रॉल करके ऑर्डर कर दिया, फ्लिपकार्ट पे ऑर्डर कर दिया, घर पहुंचने से पहले डिलीवर हो जानी चाहिए. But when we are going to open it, never. And these piles of books, they create a kind of guilt. यार ये भी पढ़ना है, pressure, anxiety. So remember, you're not here to become a content collector. Content up to a certain level will help, but not beyond that. Content और रिटर्न ऑन इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं है, आप इतना पढ़ भी नहीं सकते, लिमिटेड टाइम है. यू नीड टू हैव ए गुड अंडरस्टैंडिंग, ओके, रादर देन सिंपली एक्यूमुलेटिंग फैक्ट्स, एक्यूमुलेटिंग द कंटेंट जिसको आप कभी यूज भी नहीं कर पाओगे. एंड देयर इज अ लिमिटेशन, यू कैन नॉट रिमेंबर एवरीथिंग, यू कैन नॉट से मेमोराइज एवरीथिंग. सो बहुत ज्यादा कंटेंट लेके करोगे क्या? यू हैव टू बी स्मार्ट that with the existing knowledge only you have to ensure that you are able to answer things. One more thing in addition to this, you need to understand that college वाली spirit कभी मरने मत देना. So we all, आप लोग अभी बहुत freshly graduate होके आओगे, कुछ को 1 साल हुआ होगा, but you all remember how we studied in college. कल एग्जाम है, एक दिन पहले और हार्डली 2 दिन पहले we remember कि यार वो पेपर थोड़ा टफ है, we need to read. We find the most intelligent person क्लास में, तो बोल भाई एक बार समरी बता दे बस. And then whatever knowledge we have gathered in that less time, we just accumulate it somehow and just organize it in some way or the other. No matter whatever the question is, we write it in a manner that we are the experts. And somehow we got decent marks. Everybody would have got 60+%, at least bare minimum. Now you see, UPSC में qualify करने के percentage कितने हैं? 45. 60 की भी बात नहीं हो रही है. And the same college examiners are evaluating your copy. They are not coming from some different countries. The same universities जहाँ से आप पढ़ के आए हो, the same scholars, same teachers, professors, they are evaluating your copies in UPSC. So nothing changes. But what we do is we create a very sacred image of UPSC that कोई उसमें शशि थरूर भी बैठा है जो कॉलम लिख के आ रहा होगा. नहीं, हमारे जैसे ही लोग हैं जो सेम कॉलेजेस से पढ़ के आए हैं, and they have the same approach. Now, if you take UPSC to be very sacred, then you end up becoming a content collector. But don't take UPSC too high. ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. An average content can give you a very above average score. Now that brings me to the next golden rule. Average content, but above average presentation is the key to success. Now everybody will relate to it. We all used to know some of our colleagues, specifically female colleagues, जिनके साथ पढ़ाई की पर उनके नंबर ज्यादा आ गए. Now they used to write the entire paper with 3 types of pens, red, blue, green, yellow, whatever, colorful presentation and all. ये लग रहा है फायर अलार्म बज गया है कि आज ही. So imagine the content might be same, but the presentation might fetch you a greater score. And why I am saying this? See, there is a great analogy of it. The first analogy is like you go to a dhaba, you go to a 5-star hotel, and you order the same dish. Say you ordered a dal fry in the dhaba in the hotel. Now you end up paying 500 rupees for the same dish in the hotel or a 5-star restaurant, and you might pay hardly 50 rupees in the dhaba. What's the difference? Ingredients are same content hai. But the presentation, the ambience, that creates the difference. So the same content, same ingredient might fetch you different score, and you will see this. You're reading from the same class, you might be reading the same content, but not everybody would be writing the same answer. The presentation is completely unique, and that is what makes you different. Content इतना unique आप कभी नहीं कर पाओगे. Eventually everybody is reading from the same source. So the content cannot be much different. What will create a distinction between you and the ones who do not qualify is the presentation. and that will be solely unique. आपकी presentation कोई copy नहीं कर सकता, आपका content तो कोई भी पढ़ सकता है, और आपने भी उसी book से पढ़ा होगा जिससे बाकी लोगों ने पढ़ा होगा. So what distinguishes you is the presentation, not the content. Just understand this. Plus the time and the space that you have in the exam, you have just 2 pages to write, or say for 20 marker you have hardly 4 pages to write. You cannot write anything extraordinarily different, because the basics has to be written, and that means the word limit is hardly 300. You cannot write anything extraordinary idea, because usko explain karne mein it might take the entire space and time. So basic to sabko hi likhna hai, but if your presentation is good enough, then you might get a better score rather than your content. Now, and I have a proof of it, why presentation is more important than the content. See, 13,000 students appear for mains. This is the rough idea you might be having, and roughly 60 days में mains का result आ जाता है. Now everybody is writing 7 papers जो evaluate होंगे, essay, 4 GS paper and 2 optional. Okay, 7 papers in total. Imagine, means total number of 91,000 papers will be there that has to be evaluated within 60 days. Divide 91,000 by 60, it comes roughly 1,500 papers a day will be evaluated, and all the papers are evaluated here only, UPSC. Now go and see UPSC building, you can understand I'm saying that 100 evaluators, imagine 100 professors, teachers and all, they are sitting in the UPSC building evaluating the copy. इससे ज़्यादा उसकी capacity नहीं है. 100 is also at a far higher level. 100 evaluators, imagine they are working 8 hours a day to evaluate the copy. 1500 copy हर दिन evaluate होनी, that means one evaluator gets 15 copies a day to get evaluated. Or say if they are evaluating 8 hours a day, that is the normal working time, half an hour, if they work without break, कोई lunch break नहीं, कोई tea break नहीं, then they get just half an hour for evaluating one copy. On an average, you have to write, जैसे आप लोगों को ये पता होगा 10 mark question के लिए 2 pages लिखने होते हैं, right? So for 250, there is 50 pages. So if I have to evaluate a 50-page copy in half an hour, that means I am not giving even a single minute for a page to be read. 1 minute में एक पूरा page पढ़ लूँगा क्या? नहीं. What I am actually seeing there, main points दिखने चाहिए. What there is in my mind, I just want to see those points. If you make it easily visible for me, you have eased my task, I'll give you a good score. And if you make it difficult for me to evaluate, क्योंकि मुझे भी घर जाना है, okay, मेरे भी बीवी बच्चे हैं जो इंतजार कर रहे होंगे, then your marks will be directly affected. So what I say is, the marks that you get is inversely proportional to the effort of the examiner. The more efforts the examiner puts in the exam, evaluating your copy, the less will be the marks that you will get. If you make it easy for the examiner to check your copy, सब important points highlighted हैं, जो आप बताना चाहते हो, major ideas, they are highlighted. He will not even read what you have written. He will just skim the pages and will give you the marks. And trust me, this usually works. Okay. So just ensure that you work on your presentation rather than simply accumulating facts, content. बस content पे content उठाए जा रहे हैं, इसका भी material पढ़ेंगे, उसका भी पढ़ लेंगे, यहाँ से भी पढ़ लेंगे. Eventually, if you become a content collector, there is an alternative job for you. That is, you become a teacher. So you end up here at this platform rather than becoming an IAS officer. Okay. So just make sure that you work more on presentation rather than on the content. Okay, content एक level के beyond, not required. Okay. Then the next is the score depends not on what you remember, but on what you write. See, you have worked like 15 hours a day, you have had sleepless nights, you have read 10,000 books. You are not going to write this in the exam paper. Sir, मैंने 10,000 किताबें पढ़ी हैं. Whatever goes to the examiner is the 2 pages that you have written for an answer. From that only he will judge कि आपने क्या पढ़ा है क्या नहीं पढ़ा. उसको बिल्कुल फर्क नहीं पड़ता that you had sleepless nights or you have read 16 hours a day. Okay, so don't expect that there will be some kind of emotional connect with the examiner that this guy is reading like hell. No, you might know a lot of things here, but the problem is it hardly reaches here. There is a lot of obstacle between what is here and what comes to your writing. Okay, so remember, the only success key is write as much as possible. Write, write and write. Okay, so for that there is a very good analogy. Suppose if you are supposed to participate in a sprint competition, दौड़ना है, so you don't go to a gym and lift the dumbbells in order to improvise your performance. You run a lot on the track, right? But what we do here, we are supposed to write in the mains exam, and in order to practice for it, what we do is we read a lot. We read and read for an exam that requires write, write and write. So there is a difference, far gap between what is expected out of you and what you are practicing. तो आप यहाँ पे क्लास तो ले रहे हो, आपको लग रहा है सब समझ में आ रहा है, पर एग्जाम लिखने बैठे एंड देन यू रियलाइज यहाँ से यहाँ तक तो कुछ आता ही नहीं है. There is a big pause that is coming here, and eventually everybody is able to write all the questions, or say majority of the people might be able to write all the questions, and you are not even able to finish half of the paper. See, 10 answers you have written, they are very beautiful, very good, extraordinary answers, but you have taken double the normal time to write that answer. What will happen? You are out of the list. Why? Because you knew things, but you cannot produce it. So the examiner takes it as if you knew only half of the paper, rest of the half you didn't knew. No matter how good your answers are, you have not written 10 answers, that means you don't know the answer. He does not take into sympathy कि ये आंसर अच्छे लिखे हैं तो मतलब बाकी आते थे टाइम की वजह से नहीं लिख पाया. He is not going to give you the marks on sympathy. You have to finish the paper, and for that you require speed, and that speed will come only by practice. No matter how much you have read, what good understanding you have, what good notes you have, even if I leak the paper one day before, you will not be able to finish the paper if you don't have the writing practice. क्योंकि 3 घंटे में पेपर लिख पाना ही अपने आप में टारगेट है. Now trust me when I am saying this, that out of 13,000 people who are appearing for mains, only hardly 3,000 to 4,000 people are there who are able to finish the paper, and they are the ones who are actually appearing for interview. So if you finish the paper, there is a chance or a higher chance that you will appear for interview. सिर्फ पेपर खत्म करके आना है. But if it does not happen like this, that means no matter whatever you have read, every year you appear for mains, कुछ नहीं होगा, because पेपर छूट रहा है, you are out of the list. Okay, तो उसके लिए स्पीड चाहिए, एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी कंटेंट नहीं चाहिए. So what you require is practice of writing and make it a habit. So whenever you go out of the class, write PYQs. Okay, that brings me to the next rule. PYQs are the guiding light. How we can actually, how do we predict, say, anything, say whether meteorological or say strategical, economics, finance में, say how do we predict कि share market कैसे जाएगा, क्या होगा? We observe the past events and see how in certain circumstances the share market has reacted. Based on that we make our prediction. In meteorological also we observe the past events, and based on that past events we predict the future, right? In the same way, in UPSC exam, how do you know what is going to be asked or what can be asked? PYQs. What has been asked will be a guiding light to be what will be asked. Okay, majority, you get to get into the mind of the examiner. You think from the point of view of the examiner that examiner is तरीके से सोच रहा है. That means they're exploring in this direction. They want such kind of content. They are exploring on these ideas. Because suppose you get the, आपको किसी एक random exam में बिठा दिया जाए कि आप इसका पेपर सेट करो anthropology का. What will you do? You will definitely look into PYQs first. कि पहले क्या पूछा गया है. उसके basis पे you will understand the difficulty level of the previous papers. Try to gauge the paper in that particular level. Then you will see whatever topics have been asked. I'll try to make sure कि repetition थोड़ा कम हो या repetition पीछे वाला हो. एकदम immediate repeat ना हो जाए कि पिछले साल पूछा इसी साल पूछ ले. Right? So you will somehow take the previous year questions into mind in order to frame this year's paper. So what is, you are doing the same thing that any examiner who will be setting the paper will be doing there in UPSC. Solving PYQs will give you a direction that these areas have been asked. I have to ensure that any question comes from these areas, I should be able to solve it. I should be able to write a precise answer. And plus, if you do PYQs, I can tell you that pick up any year's paper, say pick up the paper of 2024, match it with last 10 years paper. You will find 70% of the questions theme wise they are repeated. Now if I say that 70% of the paper is leaked, you have those 10 years paper, just solve them, then understanding, you will be able to solve next year's paper. And that will also help you in better time management. That's if you go and see the paper, 70% of the questions that is being asked, I know them all. I already have a preformed structure of it. Imagine the advantage that you have over others. But now you see the paper, you feel that I know everything, but it is taking a lot of time to write on the paper whatever I know. Then there is a problem. So PYQs को solve किए बगैर, if you go to the exam hall, पाप है वो. Okay, you're wasting your attempt. So don't do any such kind of things. Make this one attempt to be the last attempt for you. So PYQs should be your guiding light. Now, the next and one of the most important golden rule is consistency and discipline will work over motivation. Motivation आज है, कल नहीं रहेगा. Okay, आज everybody first class है, enthusiasm है कि फोड़ देंगे, पढ़ के एकदम anthropologist बन जाएंगे. Okay, सर जो बोलेंगे आज एक सवाल बोल रहे हैं, I'll solve 10 questions and I'll read anthropology 2 घंटे सोऊंगा बस जिंदगी में. Motivation will be there, but it has an expiry date. It will not stay with you forever. Someday you will feel low. Someday you will feel that why am I doing this? What's the purpose of this subject? Why am I reading anthropology? You will start questioning this. My youth waste हो गया, जिंदगी बर्बाद हो गई. Okay, but then consistency will push you towards success. The discipline. Okay, so there you must have heard about a book, Atomic Habits. उसमें एक particular graph है that shows very good idea. Results versus time graph. So see, when we put in some kind of effort, we expect the progress to be linear. Linear progress होगी. We expect कि आज answer लिखा, तो answer writing में अपना pro हो गया उस particular topic में. But this is not what actually happens. What we expect is linear growth, but what really happens is something like this. So what really happens is this. and this particular phase wherein what you are expecting and what you are getting is very much different. So that is what is called as value of disappointment. This is the phase where you feel like I'm putting the effort, but I'm not getting the result. I'm putting the effort, but I'm not able to see any kind of progress in me. Answer रोज लिख रहा हूँ, मेरे टेस्ट में स्कोर नहीं improve हो रहा. I'm not able to structure it properly. The answer is getting bad feedbacks day after the day. I'm writing it regularly, still यही हो रहा है. And then you give up. Okay. And अगर आपने यहाँ पे give up कर दिया, you will never reach that stage. Just understand that the progress will not be linear. Your first answer will be the worst answer in your life. Second answer can even become worse. But don't take it that way that your efforts are getting wasted. Rather, it is getting accumulated and you might see the result not in a linear manner but in a gradual or delayed. But that is not that कि आपके effort waste हो रहे हैं. Don't give up there. Okay. So don't give up here. Just understand that this is not going to be like this. It will be like this. But eventually your efforts will show the result. Now what matters here, in order to ensure that you don't give up in the valley of disappointment, what is the most important thing that you need to understand is you should value system or process over goals. आपका गोल आंसर राइटिंग सीखना है. Don't run after the goal. Create a system, create a process, trust the process rather than running beyond or say after the goal. सिर्फ गोल के पीछे नहीं भागना है. Trust the system, make sure that there is a robust system that you, if you have decided that you will be writing 2 answers a day, you should be writing 2 answers a day irrespective of whether it is improving or not. You will see the result maybe after some time, maybe a delayed result or a gradual result will come. So you have to make sure that answer writing should become more like a habit for you rather than an exercise for you. And in order to ensure that it becomes a habit, there is a particular critical threshold of repetition. Repeat. So there are stages. That is stage A. आपने कोई process बार बार repeat किया, आप रोज आंसर लिख रहे हो, एक हफ्ते लिख रहे हो. You reach a stage A wherein you still have to motivate yourself every day कि आज आंसर लिखना है. That is the first stage. Every day you will have to motivate, every day you have to push in yourself कि I have to write 2 answers. Then again repetition, more repetition. You might reach a stage B wherein the effort that you might have to put in might not be that high. आप लिखोगे, but the boredom will kick in. Boring काम, मजा नहीं आ रहा, result नहीं दिख रहा है. Still you have to push yourself. And then after a certain stage of repetition, maybe 30 days, 40 days after it, you might reach a stage wherein it becomes a habit of yours. अच्छा बुरा घटिया कुछ भी लग रहा है, doesn't matter. 2 आंसर लिखने हैं, मतलब लिखने हैं. And when you reach that stage that the answer writing becomes a habit for you, you have crossed that threshold, you will never fall in the valley of disappointment. Okay, so ensure that you make it a habit. That दुनिया इधर की उधर हो जाए. No matter what happens, I will ensure I'll write 2 answers a day. And imagine 6 months of this journey, 180 days, you write 2 answers a day. How many answers? 360 answers. You solve test papers here. So approximately say if we take 7-8 tests, okay, and average 10 answers, 10 questions or 15 questions per test, 120 questions, 480 questions, 500 सवाल आप करके जा रहे हो. 500 सवाल आप लिख के जाओ एग्जाम में, आपके 270 280 कोई रोक नहीं सकता. I can guarantee you that. Because when you see 70% of the paper, you will see that most of them, I have already written the answer, I have the structure of it. Your brain will bombard you with points that ये लिख सकते हैं, ये लिख सकते हैं, because you have written so many answers. But you have to reach that stage. Make sure that answer writing becomes a habit rather than requiring daily motivation. Sir, answer writing नहीं हो रही है, क्या करें? कुछ मत करो. Okay, so I will get these kind of doubts. Motivation नहीं हो रहा, time नहीं मिल रहा. You will have 100 reasons not to write the answer. Only one reason to write the answer, that you have to make it a habit. Don't make it a goal कि इससे UPSC होगा, इससे कुछ होगा. Make it a habit. Trust the process, trust the system, and eventually goal will be a byproduct of it. That is why Gita also said, कर्म करो, फल की चिंता मत करो. It doesn't mean that you don't have to bother what is going to be the result. It means that when you trust the system, when you trust the process, the goal is a byproduct of it. You will eventually achieve it, whatever you are desiring. But if you run after the goal, when you run after the outcome, you avoid the system, you will never be able to achieve the goal. Or if you achieve it, it might be just by fluke. But if you trust the process, trust the system, goal achievement, goal attainment will be a byproduct of it. वो automatically आपके पास आएगा. So trust the system, trust the process, develop it, make a habit out of it, rather than getting motivation कि आज लिखे ना लिखे, आज मन नहीं है. नहीं, ये तो habit होनी चाहिए. And see how habit actually works. A lot of us are addicted to our mobile phones. Okay, and you must have, everybody must have experienced this either with themselves or with somebody they know, that if they are using a lot of phones, they are addicted to the phone. Say suppose they are browsing Insta, and somebody might say that क्या कर रहा है यार, इतनी देर से तब से phone देख रहा है. They might, for a moment, they might keep their phone aside, but their hands, that is so much in a kind of reflex or habit ऐसा है कि 1-2 मिनट में फिर उठा लेंगे. Unconsciously the hand goes there, picks up the phone, again starts browsing Insta. Or you must have experienced that कि habit इतनी strong है that you picked up your phone to give a call or to look for something, maybe किसी का contact or something like that, and eventually ended up browsing on Insta. What is this? This is the habit. एंड इस हैबिट के लिए आपको कोई मोटिवेशन, आप सोच नहीं रहे थे कि इससे कुछ डोपामीन रिलीज होगा, कुछ मजा आएगा, कुछ एंटरटेनमेंट होगी, बोर हो रहा हूं इसलिए देख रहा हूं. यू जस्ट हैव द रिफ्लेक्स, यू जस्ट हैव डेवलप्ड अ हैबिट. एंड व्हेन हैबिट्स डेवलप हो जाते हैं, इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू ओवरकम. डेवलप दिस काइंड ऑफ हैबिट, 2 आंसर्स अ डे, सो दैट व्हेन यू डेवलप दिस हैबिट, इवेंचुअली सक्सेस विल बी अ बाय प्रोडक्ट ऑफ इट. यू डोंट हैव टू वरी अबाउट यूपीएससी निकलेगा नहीं निकलेगा, 100% निकलेगा. ओके, and the last, have the knowledge of 3S. 3S knowledge is most important, and this 3S is syllabus, society, and self. Why syllabus? The most important thing, because that is the map, that is the guiding light for the exam that you are preparing. That will tell you कि pattern क्या है exam का. That is what is the kind of requirement of the exam, right? Syllabus. Eventually that will help you put in your effort in the best possible manner. The second S, that is society, will give you a motivation. आपको अपनी सोसाइटी के बारे में, आसपास के लोगों के बारे में नॉलेज है. दैट विल ऑलवेज रिमाइंड यू व्हाई इन द वेरी फर्स्ट प्लेस यू डिसाइडेड टू लीव अ ल्यूक्रेटिव लाइफ दैट यू वर लिविंग एंड कम इन हियर टू प्रिपेयर इन अ मोस्ट बोरिंग मैनर एंड डेडिकेट 2-3 years फॉर दिस एग्जाम ऑफ द प्राइम टाइम ऑफ योर लाइफ. आपके कई सारे दोस्त हैं, दे माइट बी वर्किंग इन सम MNCs or whatever jobs they are doing. They might be having trips, they might be going to some foreign countries, they might be getting married, they might be buying cars, and they might be posting it on Insta, Facebook and all such kind of social media. And you will be realizing in, or agar ab tak realize ho gaya hoga, or you must be realizing that what am I doing? I'm doing nothing. Having the knowledge of society will always give you that push ki why in the very first place I'm here. And moreover, when you connect society with syllabus, it will make your answers more relatable, okay, more relevant in the exam. Else what you will write is merely a bookish knowledge, and bookish knowledge के साथ एक problem है that it might be fake, or it might not. There is a limit of how much bookish knowledge you can accumulate here. You have to develop some kind of organic content based on your experiences also, and that will come only when you have a good knowledge of the society. And the third one is the knowledge of self. You should understand what your patterns of thinking, what bores you the most, what tempts you the most, and what drives you the most. Understanding oneself will always give you, or say आपके कुछ patterns है, you know it very well. You cannot share it with everyone. You don't want you to be judged, but at least you know it. And when you know it, you can overcome that kind of patterns that might actually pull you back in your preparation. Ultimately, when you have stepped in, you have dedicated 1 or 2 years of your prime time of the youth, which you could have used for making some alternative backup for yourself. But अगर आपने अपनी weaknesses को control नहीं किया, you don't analyze your patterns that might pull you back, then this entire time gets wasted. Plus, an understanding of the self will help you connect with syllabus and society even better, will help you perform even better in every aspect, be it writing the answers or be it appearance in the personality test interview, because you know yourself, you know your weaknesses, you know what are your strengths. You can project your strength, hide your weakness, and eventually score great. These are the golden rules that you need to remember. And और जो भी मेरे experience it I have to share, I'll share it with time as the course begins. Okay, so from tomorrow we'll be starting with the theories, the basic idea of theories, the beginning of anthropology and the theories. Okay, and in the initial phase, say since you are beginners in anthropology, a lot of you might be from BTech. BTech कितने हैं? So BTech, it's like an extracurricular activity. BTech के बाद UPSC. So, the thing is कि the ones who are from the science background, they might be reading humanities for the very first time. Things were like A is equal to B or X is equal to Y, LHS is equal to RHS. Here what we are going to read is opinions, subjective opinions. इसने ये कहा, उसने वो कहा. अब कौन सही है, कोई नहीं सही है, दोनों सही है. Okay, so something like this. So initially I'll be dictating the notes because you don't have the idea of note making. So I'll go for some spoon feeding in the initial phase, say for theories you can say.